Good afternoon. Today is the 25th of October and we're going to continue with a video that you would have seen last week, although I'm recording this actually in advance of when you will see this, and that is, when are second-hand car prices, or just car prices in general, going to return to normal? So I made a video earlier this year about why second-hand car prices are so high, and I'll link to it in the video description below. But the fact is that car prices are up by about 50% on what they were in, say, I don't know, May 2021, which is about 18 months ago. And there are various reasons for this. We won't go into it too much, but we'll start by saying that the boss of Volkswagen, I think it is, quite recently said that we're not going to see the supply issues that we've been experiencing over the last 18 months or so with the new cars actually return to normal until at least the end of 2023 into 2024. That's his sort of minimum projection, and that means with the second-hand car prices that we're probably going to be experiencing the elevated car prices until at least the middle of 2024. So it will be a while. So that's really kind of the answer to the question is about then. I think. I don't really know. Nobody knows at the moment. All the things going on at the moment with inflation being as high as it is, with ultra low emission zones and clean air zones, and electric cars supposed to be one of the only two types of cars you could buy in the market after 2030, and all kinds of other things. It's really just speculation that, me to say anything about this really, but I'm going to anyway try to use as much of my sort of understanding of the market and my professional experience as someone who regularly sources cars for private clients, and just instead of just making slightly rubbish YouTube videos, which a lot of people just think I make rubbish YouTube videos. My job is actually sourcing cars for private clients. I've done it for over 5 years, so I do have some experience in this particular field, even if I would say that anything I say in this video, it might not really come true, it might not even be relevant. It's just what I think at the moment. So let's just go over very briefly why we're having such high second-hand car prices in this country at the moment. And the reason is that when demand massively tailed off in 2020, and because I do the top 10 best-selling cars in this country every single month, I can go back and tell you exactly when that happened. Sort of March and April 2020 were very different months for car sales. For example, the manufacturers said to the people making the chips to go and all the technology inside the cars, we don't really need these chips at the moment. We don't need them. Please don't send us any more at the moment. There's no demand for cars, so please don't send us any more. And instead of just stockpiling the chips in their factories and waiting until the car manufacturers were ready to order more, what the manufacturers tended to do was actually to contact the manufacturers of smartphones and tablets and say to them, well, we've got spare production capacity, would you like some more chips? And of course, everyone being at home and wanting to be in separate rooms on separate devices, the market for tablets and smartphones really took off. Whereas obviously strong at the moment, it became a lot stronger. And so the spare production capacity that was released by not making so many chips for cars was put into things like smartphones and tablets. Now when demand for new cars started to pick up again, which would have been just over 18 months ago, it's about sort of time, the car manufacturers found that there wasn't this kind of just-in-time system really in place for the chips anymore that they needed for cars. The supply chains had been very much affected by what had happened, and so instead of actually just being able to order the chips and them coming, they found that they had to wait, and so in some cases waited a very long time for them to arrive. This meant that the whole production process was affected. A lot of the companies used the just-in-time method, which was pioneered by Toyota, I think, in the 1990s, and so they want to make everything ready at once rather than having a stockpile of some things and not so many other things. They want to be just-in-time, which is the most efficient way of making it. So if you can't do that, and you have things which are, you know, are just incomplete, cars are incomplete, waiting for components, it's not very good, but that's essentially what happened. And when the orders sort of started to come in, this is before we had, you know, rampant inflation that we do today as well, so lots of people were ordering these cars. It was suddenly, you know, in demand again. People were given sort of long wait times. Now, a friend of mine ordered a car. It's only a Ford Focus. It's not the most, perhaps, the traditionally the car that you wait the longest for, but the Focus actually took a long time to arrive, far longer than he'd imagined. He ordered the car in March 2021, and it didn't arrive until November 2021, so he waited an awfully long time. That's only for a Focus. Some MGs I know that were ordered in October 2021 haven't arrived yet. A year to wait for an MG electric car. Isn't that astonishing? So we've got these kind of ways that the market's affected, and if it's the case that second-hand car prices follow on from the new car price and new car demand, so people, you can't get the new Focus, you can't get the MGZS EV, for example, those are the two that I quoted, you're just going to have to buy a second-hand car or hold on to the car that you've got, and that drives up the price of second-hand cars massively. So they are about 50% higher than they were 18 months ago. That's just the reality of it. And this will continue. We've still got wait times of cars like the new Kia Niro. That's a long time. I think it's over 6 months of one of those. So people are just going to have to wait. These cars have lots of complicated chips in them. They're still trying to sort of ramp up production from where they've had to curtail it for so long because of these demand issues. So my prediction is that it's, yeah, maybe middle of 2024. In that case, it might be a good idea to hold on to the car that you've got, if it's still working, if it's okay. I gave that advice to someone else the other day who found out that her 2013 Renault Captur was still worth £5,000. She didn't expect that at all, and she just wanted a new car because she wanted a new car. She's not used to having one for so long, and I just told her to hold on to it. Equally, I was contacted by a long-term client of mine who I've done 2 jobs for in the past, and she wanted an SUV, and I just said, don't buy one at the moment. Is your car still working? Does it do what you need it to do? And she said yes. And I was glad about that, because obviously I've done my job okay. If that's the case, I think that car was sourced about 3 years ago, and she just basically said, well, when the prices go back to normal, just let me know. I said, that could be over a year, could be longer. She said, well, just let me know. I was like, well, rather like now, I think it's going to be maybe 18 months away. So we're just going to have to cope with the way that it is. I'm afraid there's nothing we can really do about that. We enjoyed some of the lowest second-hand car prices in the world in this country for many, many, many years. Ages and ages and ages. Like, where depreciation was so savage that some cars were worth only 30% of their value after 3 years, and so we got used to really, really colossal depreciation on many popular models, and some were not so popular. Even worse on some of the unpopular, like Daewoo and things like that. That I think we just gonna have to cope with it. So thank you so much indeed once again for watching. Hopefully this traffic jam that I've just joined will disappear at some point. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment below, and we will see you soon for some not exactly cutting edge market analysis. Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below.